right, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
The grill is shot. The chairs are held together by optimism. And what happened to the rug? Sounds like your outdoor setup is not ready for patio season. Fix it all with Wayfair. Shop Wayfair for grills, rugs, furniture, and more. With 20 million 5-star reviews, room of choice delivery, and expert setup on qualifying orders, it's never been easier to do more for less. Get 10% off your first eligible purchase. Hurry to wayfair.com or download the app now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Emotionally unavailable.
Okay, welcome to Emotionally Unavailable. Just so you know, off the top, I have a dog in here that's not usually in here because she got scared of something and I went to look for her and she was hiding in a chair. And I said, you know what? This is not something I want to have to deal with while I'm recording. But now she's burrowing in my bed and doing other things. And I'm like, okay.
Not so scared
we're here
anymore.
for a ride today. Yeah. I'm like, cool. You can't just sit there. I thought she was going to be sweet and sleep, but she's literally rolling in my blankets right now. I'm already like, damn it, Bella.
I know. Watch if I say the WALK word, then it'll, dog will go crazy.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm so excited to meet you. All right. So I am assuming that if you work with gifted children,
Yep.
that you were a video game developer in
Yeah.
a past life? Okay. I'm assuming you're gifted. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Now, my definition of gifted might be a little different than most, but yeah, I would say I fall into that category.
Okay. That's what I figured. Can we start? I have a child. My oldest was labeled gifted and talented, which what a weird little way to categorize children. Gifted
Tell me
and
about it.
talented.
Right.
The rest of you fucking suck. But I'm just wondering what your particular struggles were, if you can identify any when you were growing up, and maybe how you were anything that definitely like mischaracterized you, like where
Sure.
people thought it was one thing, but it was really another.
Oh boy, where to begin? I'll start with what came to my mind first. The
Okay.
biggest discrepancy that you'll usually see in gifted people, and again, my definition of gifted is not a certain number or a certain score. It's truly like some area of your development is just outside of the norm, just accelerated. And typically that comes with other areas of your development that are either in the normative range or lagging behind. And so you have these gaps. And that's usually where gifted people run up against the most issues in their life. We call it asynchronous development, right? So for me, I was never formally labeled as gifted, but school was nothing to me. It was a breeze. It was easy. I couldn't understand why other people just, couldn't do it, so to speak. And that was kind of a good news, bad news situation. The good news was, my grades were good. I got recognized for being intelligent. The bad news was I never really learned how to learn or learned how to study or take notes or process information effectively. It was like I either knew it or I didn't. And that never really became a problem until probably later in high school, but definitely once I hit college. So for a lot of gifted kids, that squeaky wheel problem comes out way earlier, can be in like third grade, even younger. But for me, it was college. And it was now, not only did I, have to do more challenging material, but it's like I had to take care of myself. I had to have the executive functioning skills to manage life and laundry and feeding and waking up and all this kind of stuff that I had a lot of support in when I was living at home that was now just gone. And so the biggest challenge was that nobody ever identified that that was going to be a problem for me. Nobody said like, hey, man, you're not actually really good at that. And you might want to think about looking into some more supports or help or being a little more realistic on what you're going to be able to manage. You're a smart guy, but that doesn't mean you know how to do everything. And eventually I basically almost failed out of college, and not because I didn't know the material, but because I was just lost and getting, distracted. And then I was shutting down, and, depression was hitting me hard, and it was a really tough time. And my whole thing was, well, once I get a job in the video game industry, my life will be better because I'll be doing something I love and I care about, and it'll be great. And luckily I was able to do that. I relied on my network to help me kind of get a leg up there, and I did. But after about 4 years, it was the same story as college. I wasn't managing things. I wasn't staying on top of stuff. I was getting in trouble and being told, like, hey, you got to step it up. And intellectually, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But in reality, I had no skill or frameworks to know how to do that. And eventually I got let go. And so when I got fired, I was kind of like, who am I now? I mean, this was supposed to be my dream job. This was supposed to be everything I was supposed to do.
And how old were you at that point?
Let's see. I was probably early to mid-20s
Okay.
at that point. And, life took a dark turn for a little while. And I was like, well, you know what I'll do is I'll just get the easiest job I can think of. Something that I punch in at 9, punch out at 5, no extra stress, no responsibilities. And so I found a job working in junk mail, where I sorted people's junk mail and put it into a computer. And it was a ridiculous job. But, no surprise to anyone, I was so bored out of my mind that it was painful.
Yeah.
And I lasted maybe 4 months, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. So I went back to school, and I kind of had this realization. I just want to help people. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe it's about how I can do something for others. And I got my master's in counseling psychology. And then when I was trying to get my clinical practicum, nobody would hire me because I had no psych background. I was this weird anomaly that was like this video game guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. But I eventually got connected after cold calling to a bunch of people with Andy Mahoney, and he runs the center that I run now, the Center for Identity Potential. He founded this center. And his whole thing was, I work with gifted. I work with kids and, adults that are pretty extreme in a lot of ways, brilliant people, but because they don't understand where their vulnerabilities are, because they don't understand their own development, because they don't understand how they learn, they run into a lot of problems in life. And the more I did the work, the more I was like, holy smokes, that's me. That's me to a T, which helped me become very good at the work. I could relate to these kids. I could, know what it felt like for them. And then my interest in video games was always a nice little bonus for these, for most of these
They're
kids.
like, what?
Yeah, you play what now? And so it was a long, weird, strange journey that I never would have predicted for my younger self in a million years. But I'm very glad to be where I am. And, I get a chance to kind of help out kids in ways that never really was offered to me because I flew under the radar. I wasn't a squeaky enough wheel to be like, hey, this kid's struggling and needs more support. And I know there's a lot of kids, there's obviously a lot of kids out there just like that because, I have a business around it.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't believe you stumbled into that and
Isn't
then
that crazy?
realized in hindsight that it connected to you personally.
No, it was wild because I was never formally recognized. I was never tested. I was never said, oh, I was never pulled out into, I had honors classes and AP thing here and there, but it was never, that term never came into my awareness.
So what state did you grow up in?
Illinois.
And were you in normal public school?
Yes. And
okay, we
was
do
a
it differently
huge
here in
school.
Oklahoma because,
Is that right?
based off your state test scores, that's one. That would be you would score in advanced usually in one or both areas, and then also every child every year gets tested for gifted and talented here. I didn't realize that wasn't national.
No, every state is and honestly, I'm glad to hear that Oklahoma does that level of assessment as early as they do on a consistent basis because, and again, not that might have saved me or not, because even the world of gifted is still kind of drifting towards achievement, acceleration.
Absolutely.
Going into STEM and STEM alone, and it's not always a great fit for many brilliant kids out there, and that's another issue that people run into. My ability to help other people was never on a radar. I was always like, I'll just do what I think is fun and interesting. And, I grew up as a youngest child, and my oldest sister had pretty severe, mental health issues. So she had bipolar type 1. She would get psychotic. It'd be crazy. And as the youngest, I was always sheltered from that. I was always kind of like shrank away. I just went off on my own. I just kind of left all the adults in the room to deal with it. And it always kind of bothered me that I was so helpless around it. And as I did my work with Andy, my mentor, he was like, when there's this issue in your life that you can't seem to do very well and it bothers you on some level, that is potential. That is your inner awareness saying you have the ability, but you don't have the pathway. You don't know how to build it up. And so he's like, you were always probably capable of being helpful, and you probably were helpful without even trying. But nobody recognized that was something that if we develop those skills, look out, you might actually be exceedingly, helpful to other people if we can, take that thing that made you so afraid, but turn it into something that is really, a capability of yours.
Wow. So it's almost like potential is the thing that can kind of drive you crazy. Hey guys, it's me. Emotionally Unavailable is produced 100% in-house by me with no team. So if this show has ever helped you and you want to give back, subscribe to the Patreon. There's several different levels with different benefits in each. Check the show notes and you can see what each tier subscription will get you. There's also lots of fun things coming down the pipeline for the Patreon subscribers. So get in early. You can get a workbook. You can buy merch. You can do any of the things, and all of that supports the show to help it keep going. Really appreciate every single one of you. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see what we continue to do together, because you have to have a way to utilize it.
Right. So it's that thing where it always bothers me that I was never able to blank. That is, again, some part of you that can see yourself in that, what we call an identity, right? The identity of whatever that is. But it's there's so many reasons of why you never went for it. You weren't allowed to. It wasn't appropriate. It was you felt like you never had the skill. Nobody ever taught you, or somebody tried to teach you, but they didn't teach you in a way that was actually a good fit for how you learn. Or there's a million reasons. But we try to help parents understand that these big outbursts or these huge sensitivities and intensities that these kids have is more or less potential. It's just not. It's just too raw still. It's not being cultivated. It's not being built up. And we try to look at how these kids, their greatest vulnerability as a young kid, something that, they'll never be able to write, or they'll never be able to communicate, or, whatever, it can be their greatest strength later on in life. But the problem is we shut down on those possibilities based off of fear, or it doesn't fit into the normative, or whatever.
Your own shame as a parent.
Oh, hell yeah. Right. 100%.
Yes. Wow, you just made so many things come up at once. First, I thought, wow, so the higher, and then you kind of confirmed it, because then your next words kind of confirmed it. But the more potential that's there, the harder it is to realize it, to actualize it, because you need a little more assistance in creating the pathway. And let me see if I can remember what the second thing was now. Oh, that is something that as I was doing work on myself, I realized all these things that I found to be my weaknesses were actually my strengths, my magic, I call it. And like when we can get out of our own fear and our own shame as parents, we can recognize those things that scare the shit out of us about our children. Really, if we can help them cultivate it, it is their magic. And we especially the sensitivity thing, this isn't something that I necessarily struggled with as a parent, but I see other parents really struggling with how sensitive their kids can be. And I'm like, man, but there's a way to make that so beautiful if we can step back and get out of our fear and our shame. But that requires parents to do work on themselves too, because we have to realize these are just little humans that we're helping grow up. They're not. Bella, please, for the love of God, come here.
Bella has something to say.
I'm just sitting there whining. I'm like, oh my God. I try to be sweet to you, and here you are. We are talking. But yeah, like I just feel like we have to realize like they're not extensions or reflections of us. They are their own little people, and we need to help them become big people. But I'm wondering too, so my oldest, I think that's something he would identify. He's 23, but he can identify so much potential about so many things.
Right.
but it drives him mad because he doesn't do them. Like,
Yes.
he's really struggling with executive functioning right now. So much of that is related to PTSD because we lost a child in December. But,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
like, he was struggling before that.
Yeah.
Executive functioning is just not something we've ever really figured out how to manage. But I don't know. This makes me feel better about it, like, immediately, because I'm like, he needs more assistance for a pathway. The problem with a 23-year-old is that he thinks he knows more than me.
That
So
is
that's
always the
where we
problem.
struggle.
Yes. So that again, that can happen in teens, but in 23-year-olds, and again, the older they get and the smarter they are, the more likely they have very complicated defense systems built up around these things because they are such areas of vulnerability. It's such a difficult thing to say, I need so much more help than other kids my age or other young adults my age. I can see all these other people making their way in life, making it look easy. And here I am, I need an executive function coach to help me get through my morning. And it's like, yeah, maybe. But that
Some people
doesn't.
do. And the faster you can accept that and quit resisting the natural processes here, the better off you're going to be. But I do think it will be able to help me to say, hey, the more potential, the closer you are to actually being able to be this thing that you're wanting to be, the more help you might need. And that is okay.
Right.
Because
We don't want
he
them.
moved back home to go back to school.
Yeah.
And I'm going to grab her. I'm so sorry.
I want to see Bella, really, is what it
Okay.
is.
Come here, sissy. Do you want to meet our friend?
Yeah, let's get some special guest action here. Oh, she's so cute. Okay, that's pretty adorable.
A little bit.
Yeah.
She's like 7 now, I think. 6
Is
or
she?
7. Yeah, she's not usually like this, but having a weird day. Yeah, I'm actually so like I said, he moved home a couple years ago to go back to school because we are not the people who can work full time and go to school. I wasn't either. So
me neither. Yeah.
So I was like, hey, that I understand. Come home. I don't care. Like, whatever you want to do. I would have let him come home either way. But now it's like this nonstop shit talk to himself that school's the only thing he's doing and he's not doing this and
Sure.
And I'm like, honey, I wish I knew how to help you, but this makes me feel like there's a path forward for me to be able to help too.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that's the reason I titled my podcast "Hopelessly Gifted" was for two reasons. One is that you are who you are, right? You're the way you're made in this world. Guess what? That's what you got. You can work with it. You can grow it. But if you're gifted or you're struggling with this, it's hopelessly that's who you are. But at the same time, most people associate giftedness with, oh, how lucky are you? Life will be easy. Oh, you can do anything. You have so much potential. You're going to go to solve, the world's problems. And when that doesn't happen, or when people are just not feeling that experience, there is a hopelessness in this idea that, oh, I thought I was supposed to be more. And it's painful. And I don't want people to shy away from that. I want people to understand there's a reason that it's as hard as it is. And it's more associated with our development and with our neurophysiology and with how much help we need and support, while at the same time you are still a brilliant person who can do incredible things. But it's both. Gifted education is special education, right? And gifted kids grow into gifted adults. And we still have these issues.
Yeah. Okay, I was curious about something that you had said in your email to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I still have that pulled up because, yes. Help families understand perfectionism, anxiety, isolation, and existential intensity in gifted kids. This was the part. Without treating every struggle like pathology.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I would like that broken down because I like pathology. It helps me to put things in a box. So I was like, ooh, I like this. Let me hear what's a more helpful way to look at things,
Right. Yeah. Well, it's the idea of, when we talk about like pathology, we're talking about, something, the way you are being is a problem, or the way you are going through life is something that has a label that explains it and describes it. But for some people, that description isn't enough because then there's what do I do with this? Right.
Right.
And so, I like, let's take anxiety. right? Anxiety, I will always look at as a symptom. It is never the problem. Meaning, and now obviously anxiety can become a problem if it is way unregulated and you can't even function. Then yes, you got to deal with the anxiety. But anxiety is typically an alarm system that's going on within us saying, hey, there is a challenge that we are either facing or perceiving we're going to have to face. And we don't really know with any certainty that we're going to be able to do it. And so at the end of the day, our anxiety is related to some level of skill or some level of developing ourselves that we haven't gone through yet. And for these gifted people in life, because they have these gaps in their profile, they are always in a kind of a state of anxiety because there's always this awareness that they have areas that they struggle with that they don't feel great about, that there's shame around. And we could look at it as pathology. Oh, you have executive dysfunction. You can't do blank.
Yeah.
When in reality, these issues are developmental and can get better with the proper support and scaffolding and development. Now, you may never be an A+ executive function person. I'm not. 100% I'm not. I've gotten better over the years. But at some point, it allows you to look at it without saying this is a negative thing of me, but more like, yeah, this is something I don't really care about, and it's just never going to be something I care about, but I do need to deal with it in my life, so I'm going to be the kind of guy that hires people to help me.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of normalizing it.
It's all development. Like even this gift,
Yeah.
like a lot of the people in the gifted world are like, oh, I'm, on the spectrum and I'm,
Yes.
ADHD, ADHD,
ADHD, yes.
and I'm ununderstandable and nobody can get me. And this is, this is a shitty life. And now that's not everybody, but a lot of people take these labels
Yes.
and use them as a way to say, I can't be anything more than what this is.
This
And
is
it
it.
bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
It bothers me because you can be whoever the hell you want to be, but it's going to have to be adjusted for certain things that you're up against.
Yeah.
But it's always this idea of like, neurotypical people don't understand what I'm going through. Probably not, but because the way you're explaining it, you're making it like us versus them.
Yeah.
When in reality, if you go down into the root of what you're struggling with, it is a human issue.
Yep.
Every time. It is something that is relatable, something understandable, something that is appearing bizarre or odd or weird or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is always relatable. And I always want people to feel like they can connect and relate with one another no matter what they're going through. And so, yes, it takes it out of pathology and I don't understand what's wrong with you to, human growth, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, this has actually been a lot of the conversations on this show recently.
Yeah.
A lot of because I'm seeing how we use pathology and like pedestal for ourselves or other people, just keeping us separated from other humans as a barrier because it feels unsafe. And I can
Right.
definitely see how this is part of that. But I think I've been on this wild pendulum swing around specifically the ADHD diagnosis,
Sure.
whereas I knew nothing about it when I was in my early 20s and married to somebody who had been diagnosed as a child. And all I'm seeing, he wasn't medicated, he didn't take medication, anything. All I'm seeing at that point is somebody who struggles with executive dysfunction, does not remember anything ever. I'm constantly feeling betrayed by, and it felt like an excuse.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase. I felt betrayed by his lack of memory and whatever. He
Totally.
wasn't
Totally
trying
understandable.
to be an asshole, but
Yeah.
But so I was like, oh, you just say you're ADHD to make excuses. And so that was the lens for a lot of years that I viewed ADHD in. Then come my two boys, very ADHD.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
was like, not having it. Like it's brought up. I mean, granted, I didn't trust the people approaching me with it either. Like nobody really educated me in a good way about it.
Sure.
So I was like, you just don't like him or whatever. I was your real typical annoying mother with the school system, like, no, well, he doesn't act that way at home. Well, of course he didn't. He wasn't overstimulated at home,
There you go. Yeah, you got it.
But yeah, so I really was unwilling to understand it better as well. But I had no idea how much it can impact a person and their whole system. Then I got a little more educated about it, and then obviously now I understand it way better. So I want to hold the fact that, like, you feel very ADHD, and I also want to educate that, like, my oldest hasn't been medicated for it
Mhm.
on him, but he thinks he wants to, and I'm like, "Yes, and do you see medicated people who are still struggling with the same stuff you're struggling with? Because I do." You know what I mean? I
Sure.
have no problem with him getting the medication at all. If
Right.
he wants that, like, whatever, but he hasn't, so I'm like, "Okay, you can continue to beat yourself up about not having gotten the medication, or
Mhm.
you can understand that that's not, like, for sure going to cure all of these things."
Yeah, it's not a silver bullet in any reality. I mean, medication, or at least my personal view on it, is it's designed to give you traction towards what you're working for already, but you can't seem to get to because physiologically speaking, you're getting overloaded or taken down or whatever it is. So the goal of anybody with ADHD is I kind of treat it like, okay, let's say you have diabetes. You have to adjust your lifestyle, your diet, the way you take medication, how you sleep, almost everything. And if you don't, it is going to create problems for you. Severe medical problems, or your mood is going to swing. You're going to be a very angry person, whatever it can be, right?
Yeah.
And it is the same reality of, okay, somebody is diagnosed with ADHD. The way their brain is wired works differently, requires higher levels of stimulation in order to stay in a regulated state, and there's all these other things that come with it. You own that. You are still a human being, and on top of that, you are a human being with ADHD, and now you have to adjust. And the way you go into this world is going to be vastly different than somebody that does not have ADHD. And you are going to have to prioritize things way differently than somebody
Mhm.
that does not have ADHD. And it might feel unfair. And on some level, it probably is on a cosmic level. This is where the existential, like, why is this happening kind of a thing comes in.
Yes.
But when you deal with it and you get support around it and you educate yourself and you don't put any barriers about what you can and cannot do, and you start to think outside the box on how you're going to solve things, things get better and you can change.
Yeah.
And it stops harming the relationships in your life or the relationship you have with yourself, which can be
Yes.
very painful.
Yes. Well, it's like I said, it's so painful for the whole system because as
Oh,
his mother, I hate watching him suffer.
it's
But it's
brutal.
also like I'm thinking back, I'm really kind of wondering, like, you know, all of these people, like, a lot of families have, like, that uncle or that aunt that kinda never got their shit together,
Yeah,
and
totally.
I'm kinda thinking, like, they needed a different kind of support, but were called lazy
Yep.
and, like, all the things, and all of that shame just became almost insurmountable because they're still questioning, "Why am I like this?"
Yes. Right. Right. Why am I like this? Why is this keep happening? I don't want it to happen. I have no intention of forgetting, the anniversary and the birthday of
Right.
my friends and family, but that is an absolute true difficulty. And then, you get to say, well, okay, all you got to do is keep a planner. All you got to do is use a calendar.
Yes!
Guess what? That's high level executive functioning in order to do that. So now you're damned
Pausing
in
to
two
write
ways.
it in a planner?
Yeah,
Are you joking? Yeah, I had
right,
to learn that with my son, that
right.
was an unreasonable ask.
And again, it's the ultimately the right idea and solution, but it has got to be adjusted for where that person is at developmentally, what we have to manage expectations and what they can handle. And then, yes, they have to be a little more okay with getting help and learning to not look at these issues as a shameful choice that they are
Yeah,
making, but as something that they are struggling to get better at, and they can, but man, there's so many roadblocks in the way. It's hard. It's super
it
hard.
is hard.
Yep.
I was a person, I think mine was related to trauma brain as a child, but,
Yep.
like, I barely passed high school. I think I graduated with, like, a 1.5,
Yeah.
and attempted college right out the gate. Why? I should have known that that wasn't gonna go well because I in no way could, like, handle any kind of course load, but,
Sure.
I was really hopeful.
Yeah.
I knew I was intelligent enough ish. I was pretty beat down by the school system by the time I was done because I
Ugh.
just was like, this is so irrelevant. Like
Right.
I just couldn't understand why we were like given all these things. But I remember, so I got married at 20 and then we got divorced when I was 29, I think. And I had this like divorce crazies period where I was drinking too much. I had two
Uh-huh.
small kids. And so anytime I didn't have them because we had 50-50 custody, I was drinking. I was just doing stupid shit. Well, then whenever I was like, okay, I no longer want to be doing the stupid shit. I want to get my life together. It was a complete overhaul of everything: bedtime, wake up time, how I spent my evening to be able to make it to the bedtime on time, like to where I got like really kind of rigid with my routine for years because in my world it was like this is the only way to be able to raise these children in a steady environment is to be rigid. So then that's when I'm such a pendulum swinger. I'm like a
Well,
all
but
or
you might have needed
nothing.
it right at that moment in
I
life. I mean, you
did.
know what I mean?
I
Like you
did.
needed that rigidity, 100%.
Yes, and I was like that for years where it was like, but then I'd have a meltdown because I'd be like,
Being outside is good for us. It's that simple. And trails make it easy for us to walk, bike, and be active outside in our own backyards. On the trail, we see people moving, connecting with their communities, making the places where they live great. For 40 years, Rails to Trails Conservancy has led the way, creating trails across the country, making it safer and easier for everyone to get outside. They want you to get involved. Find your trail and start your journey today at railstotrails.org/iHeart and follow at Rails to Trails on social.
if I wasn't home to
Right.
make dinner
Right.
and it was, and like my husband was in charge and it wasn't done by 6, like people eat dinner at 6. What are you talking about? Like,
Right.
why is this not important? Also, I love to marry people with ADHD / possibly autism.
I'd love
And
to do
so I'm like,
everybody's
oh,
got their
I really
turn-ons, you know.
set myself up here for a lifelong of just no one remembers shit. Great.
Uh-huh.
I'm so glad I get to remember everything for everyone. But I was like, I would really have these meltdowns. Only in the last few years am I able to chill and be like, and if it happens, it happens. But it's been quite another shift of kind of like, we need more structure in my house right now for real. I
Right.
mean, we're also going through grief, so I'm giving us a lot of grace. But
Well,
I'm
sure.
like, yeah, that schedule wasn't that bad for us, honestly. I mean, except for the meltdowns when it didn't get adhered to in the most perfect way. But otherwise, like, it really was helpful for me. But
Right.
like, again, getting my 23-year-old to listen to anything I say.
Ugh, it's quite the battle. And it, you know, and what you're talking about a lot because again, you know, I even look at like trauma as neurodivergence, right? Because on some level, when you're growing up and you've gone through true trauma, your brain has been altered. It has changed. The pathways are different. Things get circuitous. We get shut down in certain areas. So your brain is now operating outside of maybe a normative way. And, you know, and even for a kid, you know, I work with a lot of kids and kids that question, why are we doing this? And what's the point of this? And why is school this way and that way? I always view that as intelligence because they are questioning the norm in an appropriate, challenging way, but in a way where they're wanting to know. They need the information of understanding because they're not going to be just compliant little workers. They want purpose, they want meaning, they want connection, and that usually comes from, you know, people of a higher level of intelligence typically. So, you know, it's hard because you have so many kids that don't fit into the typical, oh, they're book smart and they can do well on a test, gifted, but yet they're the way they are in the world and the way they challenge and the way they have a sense of moral justice that's way outside of the norm is still giftedness on some level. It still needs adjustment. It still needs contextualization for these kids to realize, you know, what they're capable of, right? I don't know, that's how
Yeah,
I
and
see
it
it.
really feels like maybe like when you're in this young adult place that my son is, maybe they really are just still comparing themselves far too much
I'm sure
to
they are.
the quote unquote norm,
Yeah,
which
right.
makes sense to me. I guess that part didn't, because I'm in such like a as compared to what, like, you know, like I'm really okay with myself, so I have to remember like the steps I took to become that, because I'm always like, why are you beating yourself up about? Like, I don't shame him for beating himself up, but
No.
in my head, I'm like, this just is such a non-issue. I just don't understand why this is so important to him. And it's because he really truly believes everyone around him is doing so much better than he is, you know, farther along than he is, smarter, shoot, faster, stronger,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm like, what?
Well,
Like,
I will tell you what you could do. Here's how I go non-pathology route. What I would say to him is that, I noticed this thing where you're comparing yourself a lot. You are putting yourself in a boat where you don't feel like you're as far along. And I think you're doing it for a reason. I think you are trying to motivate yourself. You are trying to kick your own butt so that you stay in the race and continue to move towards your goals. But here's what you got to ask yourself. Is it working?
oh,
Is the behavior doing what it's intended to do, which is to motivate you and get you connected with whatever your path is? Or is it just harming yourself? Because my belief is not that you should just stop doing it. There's a reason you're doing it. But do you know what that reason is? And is it really giving you that result?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because I just had this visual as you were talking of all the people who have ever told him how smart he is and how much potential he has. And,
Yep.
all like he's very intelligent. He always has been. Oldest child, like,
Yeah.
just like, got all the unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
So people pleaser, all the things.
He's the
Um,
rule follower, all of it.
all of it,
Yeah.
all of it. So yeah, I'm thinking, okay, this actually makes so much more sense to me. Um, and yeah, that's pretty easy. Like, is
Right.
it working? Because
Is it
it's
working?
not.
Because again, we look at all behavior has purpose to it. And really intelligent people, bright people, don't do anything just because. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing it to be lazy or to martyr themselves or whatever it is. They're trying something. I don't think they're always consciously aware of it. But I
Right.
try to always put it in that context of like, you're doing it for a reason, man. Like, let's look at what that might be. And my gut is you're becoming dependent on this treating yourself like shit to try to keep yourself motivated on some level.
Yes. And you know what? That was something I had to identify myself was that I was very motivated by spite.
There you go. Right. Yep.
So, yeah, I can definitely see how, and it kind of fits into that whole idea of waiting till last minute to do
Now you're getting it.
anything
Now you're getting it.
because then you're in that fight or flight mode
Yep.
and you have to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Just
exactly it.
different forms of motivation.
Right. We're trying to do the right thing. And we
Yeah.
become reliant or dependent on things that aren't really how we want to be in this world. Because, yeah, you're right. Some people get addicted to anger, to spite, to these things because it's like, well, I'm going to show you. And then you
Yep.
activate and then your brain switches on and then you're doing the thing. And it's like, okay, well, that worked. What if I just keep doing that? And then you have to ask yourself, like, am I really that person? Is that really how I want to express myself in this world? But I don't know another way, so I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example.
Wow. This is making me look at so many things so differently. So what do you say to the parents of the child? Because like my kid was never a behavior issue.
Yeah.
A little bit of talky talk at school, but
That's
otherwise,
fine.
like not really. My middle one, he was big time. But like these behaviors that we see in like the prepubescent to pubescent teenagers that parents really are pathologizing and are labeling pretty hatefully.
Mhm.
What can we all kind of learn in terms of stepping back and viewing it differently and how to help them through some of these maybe at an earlier age so that we're not in this early adulthood struggle?
Right. Well, it's asking those questions exactly as you did. It's the idea of what is this kid really trying to do? And a lot of people are like, oh, they're just trying to get attention, right? And
Yes.
we say and we look at that as this negative thing. And I always tell people, I'm like, well, sometimes we need attention. What if that kid needs it? It's not that he's, being a jerk on purpose and doing it for kicks, but he needs the attention, the connection, the people looking at him, interacting with him, even if it's in a bad way. What if they need that? And what if you provided it in a way that was, a little more functional, helpful, whatever, and does that change anything or not? But if you're not in that kind of process-oriented evaluation of why would a very bright kid be participating in behaviors that they are smart enough to know are causing trouble, but they can't seem to stop. Why might that be? There's always a reason. And I've done this work long enough, and we do, I've done so many neuropsych evaluation. We don't do them ourselves, but when we receive them, we are looking through and I'll say, aha, here we go. This kid is in the 99.9th percentile for what they know, their VCI, and in the 3rd percentile for processing. And so at any given moment, that kid is getting overloaded by information, does not know how to process it, does not know how to activate it, and they're getting dysregulated. So does it make sense that in a class where there's a lot of talky talk and they're being asked to sit still and they have no connection with that material or no way to process it, that they're losing their effing minds? You know what I mean? Right?
Yes.
So but it's all about evaluation and assessment and understanding that 99.999% of kids really want to do well. They really want to do the right thing.
They
really
want to
wanna
make you happy.
They want to make others happy. They want to make themselves happy. And if they're not consistently, what's that about? And if we take it out of the moral failing, they are trying to be a jerk. They are just being lazy. They are doing this on purpose. If you step back from that for even a second, say, what else could it be? You're probably better off at helping that kid.
Yeah, because you know what? I worked in education for 7 years, and I heard an awful lot of teachers anecdotally diagnosing children as sociopaths.
Oh, my least favorite thing. But yeah,
Yep.
it happens. And
other things. And I
Yes.
was like, really?
Yeah. Oh, they don't care. They don't feel anything. They feel no remorse. And I'm like, okay, but what if they're feeling so much shame that they can't even touch it? And so they shut
Right.
down and do not even access their feelings and run away as far as they can and make it no big deal. What if that's happening? Because it would be the same result. And what if one's a little
Absolutely.
bit of better of a way to understand that kid? And again, I feel for teachers, because teachers that say stuff like that truly are in this very powerless position. They feel like they have
Yes.
no way to do anything for that child. And so they throw their hands up and they give them a label because it's this kind of way of getting it off of their plate
It's
and not
their
having
own
to deal.
shame.
Yeah, it's their own shame of, I don't know how to help this kid.
Yes.
And that's a tough spot to be in.
Yep, been there, yeah. It's
Yeah,
awful.
right?
It's
And it
awful
is.
because not only do you, as a human, want to help this child, as a professional, you want to not be in trouble over this kid's
Yeah.
behavior, and
Right.
you want to not be in trouble over their test scores. Like,
Right.
so there's this whole little thing where the teacher has all this pressure on them. That's why I didn't last. I switched to school counseling,
Well,
even though it was shit. So
It's well,
God
God,
bless
and
them.
it's such a
But
tough position because, again, if you don't have a team behind you that says, hey, we understand that you are an excellent teacher, an excellent counselor, and you are doing everything you can and nothing's shifting, that means we have to go back to assessment. We need to get together as a team and figure out what we're missing, because it's definitely not you, Melissa. It's not, that's not the issue. But if you're made to feel like, why can't you get this kid under control?
yes.
And there's this expectation that you should just know how to do that, that sucks.
No, yeah, it really did. It was a real cause of a mental health crisis for me after
I'm
7 years.
sure.
I
That's
couldn't take it
brutal.
anymore because I was
Yeah.
not getting any external validation, and that was the only way I knew how to be validated.
Oh,
And
that's hard.
and more than that, I felt incompetent, and I was being like treated like shit about it. So it was really a struggle for me. But even in the school counselor role, where I was part of coming in to support those kids,
Mhm.
this information isn't widely accepted because they are literally in they're in survival mode.
Right.
And me, giving them some information doesn't really change their reality, which is day in and day out, I'm being traumatized by this child.
Right.
you
What do I
know?
do tomorrow rather than,
Right.
okay, I guess that makes sense, but I'm still sinking here. And again, that it's a very tricky situation to be in, and again, let's go back to what I started with, which the fact that it bothered you, the fact that it hit you so deeply and caused you such mental distress tells me how good of a teacher you are. It tells me how much you care about children. It tells me that because I couldn't deal with it in that way, and I didn't have the support I didn't needed, and didn't have other people stepping in to walk us through a process that might, and could calm everything down, I was left feeling miserable, but it's still just potential.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Well, and it just makes me feel softer in general.
There it is.
Like
Yep.
about me, about others,
Yep.
and, previous versions of myself that I feel like I've done a really good job of accepting by now, but even just a little bit softer towards all of those versions of me
Yeah.
that just struggled so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And yeah, this makes me feel I like the idea anytime we can say, how can we not make a moral assignment here about behavior? No meaning, no judgment, no morality here. What is the actual situation that we're looking at? Let's like work on a process here. I
Yeah.
love that. Anytime we can find a process for something. So if we were to just if we were to make this episode actionable and somebody hearing this today is super resonating in themselves, identifying that they could use some more support, with themselves or their child, what are just a couple of things that they could begin with in terms of, let's stick with like anything under the lazy umbrella. If they just feel like they're lazy and unmotivated, what are a few things that they can do to help themselves or a child?
So I like to give a mantra that applies to most, if not all, gifted kids. And remember, my gifted umbrella is pretty big. But it's that for most gifted kids, the complex is simple and the simple is complex. And if you can get your head around that, almost all behavior starts to make more sense. Yes, they can spend 8 hours in Minecraft and build something that is unbelievably rich and insane, or they can do this schoolwork, or they memorized every single U.S. president in order, but they can't remember to shut the door behind them. They can't remember to tie their shoes. That is exactly what a gifted kid looks like. It's asynchronous development. And it's not that they won't do those things, it's that possibly they can't. And if you can start from that framework of what if they can't do it, how does that change your reaction to them? How does that change your support to them? Does that make you feel softer, like you say, to the issue and take it so much out of, I just need to get this kid to figure it out, rather
Right.
than, what if they really need so much more than I thought? I always give this example of, there was a family that came into our office, and their 16-year-old son had one job at the house: take the garbage can out to the driveway once a week. And that
Yeah.
dad was furious. He just won't do it. He's so lazy, just can't figure it out. I said, okay, let's throw that out the window. Let's pretend that the executive function required to remember, prioritize this, initiate on the event, sequence himself through it, and get himself back is too much. So what you're going to do is, every time he needs to do it, you're going to go with him. You're going to go out together, you're going to take the garbage can down, and you're going to go back. And you're going to do that week after week after week. And I think it was after like the fourth week, he goes to his kid and goes, okay, it's time to take the garbage out. And the kid goes, I already did it. Because there's some level of training and development and scaffolding that needed to happen outside of shame, outside of telling the kid again and again and again. It was a physical need of doing the thing that started to build what that kid needed. The simple is complex and the
You need
complex
the
is simple.
repetition, but he
Yeah.
needed someone to help him to get it done so that he
Yeah.
could get the repetition.
Exactly.
Oh
You
my gosh.
You got it.
Brilliant.
So that if you
Wow.
start to look at issues like that, of maybe they need more help than I thought, maybe I need to do it with them for a certain amount of time. And again, not forever. It's developing. We're trying to get better and better. It's not just, oh, let's give them an accommodation and they'll have that for the rest of their life. It's, how do we help them grow? But we have to be realistic about starting where they really are.
Yes. Yes. And again, if you can just take your emotions out of it and back out and
Yep.
not make assumptions and just see it for what it is a problem that can be fixed.
Mhm.
Maybe not the 100% way that you're hoping, but like, can we get 75% closer to quote unquote normal?
Yep.
Yes, I believe that.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that because I see where this is happening, where you just believe it's because of XYZ moral failing, which really just makes you feel like it's because you were a shitty parent, and that's where all that comes from.
Exactly, because you're getting in touch with your own helplessness and powerlessness to support that child, and it's your own feelings that are getting projected onto the kid. And you got to be very, very careful, because I don't believe any parent's intention is to really do that.
Right. Ooh, I love that. Man, that is making me think about so many things so differently. And it's also so simple. I don't know how, this is not widely known information.
I
What?
know. I need to do more of these podcasts, I guess.
You
Get more people out there. Yeah.
Because listen, I consider myself pretty aware of lots of things, and this is not an area I have tapped into at all. I'm actually stoked about this.
Let's go. All right. I'm into that. That's great news. I love it.
I think it's awesome to of course, I can get really Pollyanna about things. So I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people can have their lives changed. But, I have teachers in my audience because, they started supporting me from leaving that job and whatever, and they listen to my show. So I'm excited for them to hear this, because if it works with one person,
that's
a lot.
That's my whole mantra. If I can help one, that's the only reason I don't like getting in front of crowds. I get super stressed out. I'm very good at it, but it stresses me to no end. But I have to go, if this helps one person, if this that's all I can do in order to do it.
Yeah.
But I like to, and I like offering trainings to teachers in schools. I've done that plenty of times, where it's like, here's how you got to understand these kids, and here's how we can help you feel more empowered to do the work that you want to be doing, and not get so sucked into the behaviors too much, or what you might need in place. But I love that you have teachers listening. I'm a big, I'm such a supporter of teachers. I'm my least favorite thing is when parents are yelling at teachers and teachers are blaming parents. I hate that, because I'm like, no, you all are you're just struggling to do the same thing that you all want to do.
We're just struggling, guys.
You're working. You're working the problem. I get it. Anyway.
No, I totally resonate with everything that you've said today. I'm so happy. Because honestly, I feel like I'm going to be able to go to my son and be like, honey, I think you're taking this too seriously, which I've said some version of.
Yeah, right.
Now I feel like I have, because I had psychology to talk to him about, which he understands because he's in school for psychology. But this was just more layers that I feel like are going to really, it doesn't even have to be that serious psychology. This is literally just the way your brain is, and we can back up and see how more I can support you, or what other supports you could put in place. That just makes me really excited. So you definitely helped me today. So
that makes me,
I'm really excited.
Awesome. You just filled my cup. I love it.
Oh, good. Okay. Tell us where we can find you.
Sure. If you're interested in the center, we work remotely, so you don't have to be in the Metro Detroit area, but it is centerforidentitypotential.com. And then my podcast is the Hopelessly Gifted Podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Perfect. I'll make sure that I include those in the show notes too.
Oh, that'd be great.
And I just appreciate you so much. I'm so excited that you were here today.
Oh, I had the best time. You are probably the most fun podcast host we've been able to chat with. This is I feel like we're just buddies now. I love it. This is great.
Good. Me too. That's the way I like it to be. Totally natural, organic conversation. I feel like that's what calls to my spirit. So that's why I try to keep it. But thank you. That's a really big compliment.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. I'm going to press stop if you'll hang out for 1 sec.
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
INDEPE and cut.